So in my recent prior Bible study video that I did, we pondered the idea of looking at a time frame of a possible 10-day process of our being redeemed happening during the second month, the first day through the 10th day. In this 10-day process was based upon what was told to Sister Sherry back years ago from Father that said, I am coming at the sound of a trumpet. I am coming to redeem my own. Listen for me, child. Know that I am at the door about to open it. You have taught them well. For those who would listen, many will come, but many will be left behind. For 10 days, I will gather my people, and then I will shut the door. The time is now. Pray for the redemption of my people. Now, the time actually was postponed and hasn't come about yet. So we're still looking for that 10 days. And so why originally in the other study we looked at the first day of the second month as a starting of the 10 days. And again, I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying that it isn't. Was because of this part where, and again, I'm not sure what book this was in, but verses 17 says, in the second month, on the first day thereof. And at this time, verse 23 then says, and the number of the children of Levi's from 1 month old and above was 22,000. And of course, we were told by Sister Sherry we are all going to be priests in the new kingdom in the millennial reign. So just like in the past, we can see that Aaron took his sons, the Levites, and for 7 days they were consecrated. That was the process of them being consecrated. So then, returning back to this, in the second month, the first day thereof, and the number of Levites was counted at that time, the first 144,000 could have been counted. And for 7 days consecrated. And the word consecrate, H4390 in the Strong's Concordance, means to fulfill, accomplish, complete, and gather. So on this day of the 7th day of the second month, I believe the final cut has been accomplished, has been completed. And at that time, I think we should start watching and therefore be ready. For on that day of the 7th day of the second month, it was the walls of Jericho that came down when those trumpets were blown. Hear those trumpets of the past. Know where you are in time. And then go from there. The end of the 7th day of being consecrated. And on to the 8th day of the second month, starting counting of the 10-day process. Starting on the 8th day, we go 10 days, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. 17th day of the second month of Ziv. So the first day of the 10 days in this study that we're looking at, we'd be looking at the 8th day of the second month matching with April 27th in the day of the full moon. And here it's interesting to see the usage of the word of Jericho dealing with the moon and fragrance. And we relate that to the walls coming down, the fragrance of Oregon causing the walls to come down so that they can come in. Very appropriate in that regards. And again, connecting it to the moon. For as Proverbs 7:19 and 20 tell us, for the good man is not at home. He is gone on a long journey. He has taken a bag of money with him. He will come home at the day appointed. And what does appointed mean? It means full moon. So that 8th day of the second month matches with the full moon. Now, as I showed this morning that today is the 9th day of the second month on God's calendar. It is a Sabbath day. The next Sabbath day on God's calendar will be the 16th day of the second month, which will then be followed by that 10th day that I'm talking to you about, the 17th day of the second month. Well, let's see what was happening also on the 16th day of the second month in history. As Exodus 16:1 tells us, it was on the 15th day of the second month that they came to the wilderness of Sin. In verse 12, it tells us that at evening they ate meat for the last time. And then in the morning, the Lord told them that they would be filled with bread. And at that time is when the first manna came. As Exodus 16:15 tells us that the Israelites saw it on that next morning, for they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, "It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat." And for so long, we have been trying to feed the truth to ones to eat and to listen to. The 16th day of the second month would then be an appropriate timing of the last truths being given. Last manna. As first manna was given, the last manna was given. Now, knowing that we've been doing a good job of feeding truths to ones, Matthew 25:21 rings truth when it says, his Lord said to him, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things, and I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord." Matthew 24:37 says, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." And in verse 39 it says, "And knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." So I think that the entering of the joy of our Lord could become final on the day of the 17th day of the second month, which in Genesis 7:11 we read, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened." The portals of the heavens were opened, maybe for us on that day. And again, back to the statement made by Father, "For 10 days gather my people, and then I will shut the door." When are we told that the door was finally shut completely by the Lord himself, and they were put into safety? Genesis 7:16 tells us that indeed it was on that 17th day of the second month. In the book of Jubilees, an ancient book, tells us of something else that happened on that 17th day of the second month. In chapter 3, verse 17, it says, "And in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, the serpent came and approached the woman in the Garden of Eden." And that was when the original sin was made. So isn't this something that maybe his judgment comes also on this day after we leave? Matthew 24:22 says, "And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened." So going from September 23rd, 2017, when many think it was the timing of Revelation 12's sign, to but not including May 6, 2021, which would be the 17th day of the second month on God's calendar, it's a result of 1,321 days. If we turn to the Strong's Concordance, in Greek word 1,321, it means to teach. And that's so appropriate, again, as our feeding the truth, that manna is going to have ended. Then we'll be brought home, and there'll be no more light being shed, no more truths. And in closing, if we turn to Jewish gematria, 1,321, we find the following. No more waiting. Biblical white horse. Ark of the Covenant, 144,000. 144,000 prepare for Christ's return. Back together again. Shaz gets Ark.